Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Everyone, welcome to Paranormal Karen. Go to karenrontowski.com, sign up for my email, book a reading, join the Patreon, all those things. You all know what's going on. Enough of the housekeeping. So I don't want to shock everyone, but some of you may know Utica hasn't been my favorite place to live. But there have been some wonderful things and wonderful rays of sunshine that has made it so much better. And I'm speaking to one of those today. My friend Juliana Hardy. Yes.
Hardy.
Hardy. Hardy. And you know, literally in my phone, you're move, breathe, live. That's who you are.
That is who I am. Yeah.
In my podcast, somebody listened to a review on my podcast and was like, doesn't sound like she reads anything beforehand. And I was like, no, I don't. Congratulations.
Yep.
You're a psychic. So I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk about cacao journeying. That's the big topic. But I joined your gym, Move, Breathe, Live, who by the time this comes out in July, you're at a new location. What's the location?
It'll be 100 Main Street in Whitesboro.
100 Main Street. What a great number.
Yeah.
Like 100 Main Street.
Right. And it's this beautiful, big, white building. I mean, it's just to imagine to be there. It's 100 Main Street, Whitesboro, in the Village. It's fantastic.
All right. So everyone will meet you there. There's going to be, but it's not really just the gym. It's a community.
Yes. So I definitely came from the fitness world. And so I opened this location where we are right now in Champlin, as fitness with some yoga. And yoga came into my life, or kind of the mindset, came into my life later. And then in the past 3 years of being at this location, really have gotten into the sound baths and, mental health and meditation. And then now this cacao is new. And so this new location, really trying to bring in a location. It's a great building. And then on the backside, there's an addition where the gym will be. So there will be, I call it kind of the loud energy, which is really, there'll be music and all of it is very mindful movement, strength training. But in the front, we'll have the yoga. There'll be massage therapy, breath work, all different. I'm leaving it open to what it's going to be. There's lots of talk with different, and I'm trusting that it'll be what it's supposed to be. But yes, a community, a center where people can come and get their mind, body, soul, spirit, whatever speaks to them.
And I'm going to say, like, your background is fitness, but here's where the woo comes in. Yeah. And also what I love about what you do, which is, you have a flexibility about you and fitness that I rarely see. And that is not just a one size fits all. First of all, all your classes are varied in so many ways. I have learned more from you than I think I learned in 50 years of working out. And I'm a, yeah. And also, and I really appreciate this. This is where, like, you're the person, like, when people say, plant-based diet is better than a meat-based diet, or meat-based diet is better, and you're the first one that's like, these are two different things. We're not they're not the same thing. And I really appreciate, because that's what I've always been trying to say, but I couldn't say. Right. And now you bringing in really the spirit part of this is, phenomenal. So first let's start about your background, because you were a military kid, right?
I was a military spouse. Yeah. So I grew up, very much, and it's funny because I was thinking about coming on with the podcast, and so as a kid, I was just that active kid. And now later I can look back and be like, oh, that was anxiety. There was, there's instability, all this. So I got into sport. And sport was my, and I say, like, it's an addiction, right? We can have addiction to all different things. And so mine was sport, and I was good at it. And so, I had coaches that supported me, and that was such a great thing for me. And with my life, my coaches were fantastic. They helped raise me. But it also was at a level of intensity that was okay for teen years. And then I continued that. And I think a lot of people are kind of in that, that's like, how do I pull out? And so, In my 20s, I got married, military, had kids, did the deployment stuff, and then I found CrossFit. And so that like fed my intensity level. And so I really came from that competitive, like more, do.
And you know who you're talking to.
Right. And that's why when you walked in the door and you're like, I'm from LA, I want hot every day, all the time. I was like, I totally get it. You know, and because again, we find like what makes us feel good. What are we finding? And I totally get that high, that intensity, like we're getting. And then, there are moments in my life that, again, right, hindsight, that I remember having a tremendous workout. And I was a 6 a.m.er and I had a tremendous workout and I went home and my kids ended up having a snow day and they were young and they're like, Mom, come play. And I couldn't really step because I was so sore. And I still was so based on what my training was that I had that glimmer to go, all right, I'm a mom right now and I can't even chase my kids because I'm so sore. But it took time, you know, it's kind of that unraveling of peeling back, like, why am I training so
hard? Where
am
I supposed to be right now?
Right.
And you know, it's funny because I'm going to hack this to pieces so everyone can look it up on their own. But Gabor Mate talks about ADHD. And he talks about how if there's stress in the house, and the kids don't have any place to go, it's sort of like what you're talking about with exercise that you and I did, they do with their mind.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a very interesting perspective. And then you add screens and computers to that, and it gets even worse. Right. So yeah. It's now this is I'm going to make a weird segue here, because. And also, you have the education of fitness, like unbelievable.
Right. I went to massage school. I went to college, and I always say I learned what I didn't want to do, which was great. I mean, I definitely am one. I joke. I'm like, I try something, and I go, nope. I'll try something else. Nope, and kind of learn it that way. I learn by doing very much.
This was where I was going to jump to.
Okay.
Because part of, and we did this during I call it a journey, cacao journey, right?
Yep.
You do this also you have the most amazing class where it is like a relaxation self-massage that we do with those things called the Courgeous Ball.
Right.
I'm going to get to that, folks, because I sleep on mine.
Yeah.
I put mine under my neck and I sleep on it.
Yeah.
But there's the shaking. Shaking is a part of just jumping up and shaking
and
things
releasing
off.
Yeah.
What is when you do that, what is your, we're releasing energy, we're releasing stuff. What brought you to that?
Yeah, all of it, I guess. So I would say the pieces, I went to massage school when just out of college. And so that was a moment in which I was like, this touch, this body awareness. And then, like I said, I went on and got back into the fitness. I went away. There were a couple of moments where I've had amazing teachers, and there's a few that I've really studied with. The first teacher, which you talk about, the Courgeous Ball, is Jill Miller. And I was introduced to her, a little over 10 years ago. And that's really where the 180 in my brain went. The first class I took with her was with the Courgeous, and it was a week long. And we put it's a soft ball. It's like you think of a kid's ball, that you get at the grocery store, but hers is definitely much more pliable.
And you don't fill it all the way with air.
You don't, right. You give it space and you can adjust it. And, so, I mean, look it up. It's Courgeous, Core. And, but it's a fantastic, and it was the first time, again, coming from a fitness world and being a female, of like, you always stand up, you're always holding your core, you're always, harder. Crunches, more, and and it was like day 3 and she's coming over and she's putting her hands on my stomach and she's like, relax. And I'm like looking down going, I'm trying, I don't know how to relax that. And so it was that first moment for me. And we're still I take classes whenever I can. She's a phenomenal teacher. She just wrote another book, Body by Breath, and it's been amazing to watch her journey, because she came in, yoga to the CrossFit. She came in via another teacher, and that's how I was introduced, is that she had done it with Kelly Starrett, who was in the CrossFit world. And so it was kind of the worlds came in, and that was truly my first introduction to this yoga. And she spoke anatomy, which spoke my world, because I wasn't yoga, I was fitness and anatomy and massage. And so she then introduced these balls. And so then it brought this whole like mental of, whoa, this self-care that we can do to ourselves. And so then that's where my shift went to that embodiment. So when I teach a class, it is always coming back to embodiment, meaning we're going inside our own body. What is going on today, physically, mentally, and giving tools that we can palpate using the balls. So we place it in our neck, we place it in our belly. Like you said, you sleep with it.
Yeah.
And it can be used for anxiety. It can be used as what is my breath like? And then also just where is tension being held? So that was really my first, I took as many classes as I could with her and her studies as possible in the first few years. And then just by it was just, again, things happen as they're supposed to. I went to Kripalu, was one of my favorite places. I'd gone
That's my hometown. Yeah.
And I'd taken several classes with Jill there, and I wanted to take my mom and my kids. And so we just picked a random weekend because kids can only go twice a year. So we were going that weekend. I looked and I was like, oh, I'll take this class. And it was energy medicine for self-healing. My first intro, which I completely believe you and I are supposed to meet because you're bringing in
crazy.
Just think about this, which I love that it's like, okay, let me start thinking about that. But it's Anne-Marie Chiasson. She's out of university.
And I want to throw in one thing real quick. Folks, the Corgis Ball is $13.
Yes.
And because I think it's a big, take a look, people. Artists, people, take a look. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Continue.
Yep. So Anne-Marie Chiasson was also a huge, she's out of the University of Arizona. She's an MD, but does this energy healing. And so for, again, me, where I come from, this very science, tell me, I want to understand the body, the connectedness, grounded and rooting. She does this heart-centered meditation, rooting, grounding, and then this, quote, energy healing. And so it was, again, this way that I could like start to go out into this, quote, other, but then come back to the body. And she was the one that really was like, it comes within your heart center, and so I could bridge that anatomy and physiology and science of like double blind studies to like, there's this other stuff that we can't. And she was an MD, and she's like, I don't know if we've done it, toe tapping, I don't think we've done together. But shaking, these are all physical movements that you're just letting go. And so she's the one that introduced the shaking. There's certain songs that I typically will do for the shaking, the toe tapping, back patting, all of these things that, our body, we can release, our back patting is one of those things we do to babies, right? We pat them on the back. We don't do that to adults. We don't do that to each other as, we talk about a back patting, of like, good job. But really that physical patting on the back. And then you get into the energy side, and it's the back of the heart. So what are you patting to, you're releasing or you're moving the past to the front, So again, I like to go physical, that what we're doing to the body, we're jolting, or I don't want to say jolting, but in a kind way, we're stirring up. And then energetically.
I remember the first time in college that an upset stomach, someone showed me tap on your stomach to burp like you would burp a baby. And I was like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
When did we
lose that? Right. When did we lose that understanding of our body? And, or when did we never learn that, cause it is, and so that was kind of my second main teacher. I went out to Arizona. I've done several classes. I assisted her at Kripalu, and then I also did an 11-day experience with her out in Arizona. And then COVID happened, so we've kind of closed down on that. But so
the shaking is, for some reason, the thing I resist the most. I don't know why. But and we always do it, and I always feel better after. Yeah. But certain things are going to the workout or the and you go, no, why are we doing this?
Yeah, and so it's good, right? And with that comment, what came to mind is then do more.
Because I was thinking it's not letting go. Yeah. I'm trying so hard to let go, and it's like there's a white knuckle reaction. Yeah. And even today when I was driving here, and I was like, blocked off the road, the idiot. You know what I mean? They just blocked off the road. They were doing something. They weren't really out to get Karen Rontowski by blocking the road. So
they're doing it on purpose for you.
I live here.
Yeah.
So that is all incorporated, the shaking, the Courgeous ball, and also I'm going to kind of stay on this because I love where you're going. It's so metaphysical. And then you also use the tennis balls in the sack?
Yep. So they're also Jill Miller, all of the balls. And so they're called her original. They're in a tote. Yep. And then she's got plus size and alpha. And so those are all, it's Jill Miller's yoga tune-up. And so she uses this role model method. And again, that was her first book that it spoke that the way I think of it is, so I'm not a licensed massage therapist in New York. I did my massage training in Pennsylvania. So I cannot do hands-on massage. Doesn't mean I don't know how to. It doesn't mean I've lost my training. I'm not legally allowed to do it. The balls allow me to verbally walk people through what I consider a self-massage. So I understand where I would put my thumb, then we're placing the ball there, and they have the control, they have the empowerment, and they can go home. Like you say, you sleep with it, right? So a huge thing for me always that I always reiterate is that you are doing whether we want to say the healing, the learning, the release, the whatever. When we go to, I have teachers that I've loved learning with, but ultimately it comes back to me to sit down, to let go, to release. It comes to me, really the awareness is the first. The awareness, the attention to it, and then acknowledging it and either releasing it, whatever it may be. Or, sometimes you've got to lean into it. And, but that's the pieces that it is within ourselves, whether it's grounding ourselves and this is where right now, meeting you and then where my journey has gone into a little bit more of that energy. And that's my self-practice. I'm not in that, like cacao is kind of my beginning of, all right, I'm ready to share it, which we just had the first cacao circle.
It was amazing. It was more than I thought. I'll tell you, and I'll tell you the experience I had too.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like talk about timing with everything. Getting the Courgeous ball, turning these other things. I wonder if Utica maybe at another time wouldn't be so bad for me, but I'm in such the dark journey right now of today I was working on being a know-it-all and stuff, which is why I admire you because you really have an open to whatever. Right. Like I can even walk in with a conspiracy or something crazy and you're like, oh, let me think about that. Yeah. Okay. So I really appreciate that. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the stuff you taught me about softening instead of hardening muscles. This is really good. Ladies, listen. Ladies, I promise you, part 2.
Medicallyspeaking.com is a prophetic shop that focuses on your inner alchemical transmutation. And I needed an alchemical transmutation to say alchemical transmutation. See, Toria, you did it. When you're looking for activations to change your aura, wisdom and insight to heal your past, and alchemy to live your highest vibrancy, you will most certainly enjoy the array of offerings you will find at hermeticallyspeaking.com. Created through the teaching of the Hermetics, Toria, who's been on my podcast many times, provides personalized guidance that caters a feast specifically from the higher realms to you. You'll leave each session feeling empowered and loved, having gained ancient knowledge for your soul's nourishment and growth. Believe me, I know. I've worked with Toria and she is terrific. Everything you need is within you. So come remember, activate, and expand your knowing at hermeticallyspeaking.com.
Because I apologize about not knowing your last name, but you're reliving my phone, and that's who you are in my heart.
Yes, yes. Well, and again, to think of that name and that it's going to be a new place. Move, breathe, live. Move more, breathe fully, live your life.
My fallback too. This is funny in comedy when you talk to the crowd. There's always been this. Used to be a long time ago. Now I don't think anyone cares. But you would go. How about you, ma'am? And it would be a guy, and everyone would go, ooh, or something like that. So I got in this habit of just calling everyone my friend, which I was like, I really like that. Hey, my friend, or nice to meet you. And also, I feel like I only know people by their first name because I do feel like everyone's kind of a friend or a potential friend. The other day I was interviewing a doctor, and before I go, "Hey, nice to meet you, William." And he was very polite, but he was like, "Just for professional purposes, maybe you should call me doctor." I was like, okay. Like, it didn't even occur to me.
Yep.
Because I think the reason I've always had to have the hot yoga as opposed to the other is the relaxation and the softening of the muscles while forming the muscles, or however I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. So, you taught me, because you and I were talking about Kegel exercises, and that is pull in, grip, harder, tighter, more.
Yeah.
And this was the first place, I think the best place I learned it is using some of these tools to soften the hip muscles and the pelvic muscles rather than going at it. I'm going to let you explain.
So yeah, the idea, I mean, with anything is that we often have tension. So like our neck, even going to, people understand, our neck is tight. Well, the pelvic floor is often tight, and especially and I think if you Google, there is a lot more information. Thankfully, there's a lot more pelvic floor therapists, PTs that know way more than me. So I will touch on it just a tiny, tiny bit, but
that probably isn't true, folks, but you are always erring on the side of caution. That's what I love. But she probably knows more than all of them, but that's okay.
Thank you. But the idea of the pelvic floor, in the past is, we need to squeeze it. We need to tighten it. And then we've got a bunch of people walking around. So we were squeezing and we sneeze and it's like, it comes out because we've been squeezing it. And so the idea of being able to soften that, or to know, and so much of it again is that awareness, right? That if we're holding tension, what does it even feel like to not hold tension, right? And that's one of my favorite, again, there's a couple of things that just stay true to me, and it's we don't know what we don't know. And so again, with any of the classes that I teach with the relaxation, the mind body is a level of relaxation, whether it's our pelvic floor, whether it's our jaw, whether it's our neck. One, the interconnectedness of it. And two, what is it even that we may live in this, like, we'll say level 10 of tension. And we're like, no, we're totally cool. We're all good. And then we like,
moving.
Right. This is how I've always lived. I'm good. What do you mean? I've got to breathe. Like, again, Jill saying to me, relax. And I'm like, what do you mean relax? I am. And I'm now it's like, oh, I can actually move, but I didn't know, right? So these moments, and that's what I love about any of this community stuff that we do, because we heal in community, we heal with others, we can't do it alone. But then to add in the cacao as this facilitator is such a great piece. But ultimately, it gives us these moments that we can tap into a new level of, and I say new level of kind of ... relaxation, nervous system reset, mind,
being
self-critic,
okay inside,
embodiment.
Self-critic is the big one. If the body's not, I hate to say it this way, but that's why people smoke pot or drink, which is a way to do it.
Right. There's
mushrooms, whatever, to put that relaxation so you can be in your body without almost like an alarm going off.
Exactly.
And you just made me realize. So it was I have the funniest friend, Dwayne Perkins. During the pandemic, I got a mouth guard, and he was saying he had the funniest joke, and he said his dentist said, "Do you think you're grinding your teeth at night?" And he said, "No, 24/7." And I thought that's what we turned into.
Exactly.
And so that Coregeous ball, which I'm just going to, we're very stuck on that, but it's just a little bit sticky, and I put it under my neck, and I think it's releasing my jaw at night because I was having a headache without it.
Right.
So
it's huge. And I will tell you, and Jill just came out with a new book, and she and I had written kind of and didn't make it into the book, but kind of my story of how I used it to go to sleep, because I would put it on my belly and breathe into it. And it gave me something to focus on when I was going through my divorce and like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I could come back to my body and my breath. And she uses that. It's very much used for the anxiety. The other piece that I love is everything's connected. And one of the things I think about with the jaw is our jaw and our hip are often connected. So if we're clenching the jaw, we're squeezing, so we have that, again, tight pelvic floor, tight hips, low back, all of that. Coming back to learning to and again, to say, there's so many buzzwords, but like to be able to soften the body, to relax the body, relax the jaw, the pelvic floor, the abdomen, whatever, and The classes we do, you've been to some of the yoga classes I teach, which I don't teach yoga. The flow, I'm not a yoga teacher.
It's yoga-esque. It's the same result, kind of, right?
Right.
What do you say?
And so, but I love, and especially at the new place, we'll be introducing kind of these 90 to 2 hour ball rolling sessions, not only for athletes, but for anyone, because again, to learn what relaxation feels like, to learn what it feels like to be at a new state of calm. And so on Sunday when we did the cacao, it's in a community, and then getting and for some people, for me, I was actually looking back on some of my notes because I did a 21-day yoga immersion. And so we did cacao every day. We did a meditation every day. And it was like, the dialing into ourselves, listening to ourselves, taking the time, and then coming back to that over and over again. So we reset this new level of, and like I said, I was very much a doer, go, go, go. I didn't stop. And so, and actually a piece I tell people is like meditation. The meditations, quote, meditations I teach are shaking meditations, moving meditations, ball rolling, breathing. There's something that we're doing. Because for me, and I've done a weekend sitting meditation, and it's like my butt was sore.
Yeah,
I had sciatic, and it didn't. And I have a great friend, Rick, who's done meditations here, and he sits, and it's like I can only do those meditations if he guides me. But I had to have a teacher in the beginning to be able to sit and meditate. It was like, yes. I can't do this on my own. I am not going to sit here and not lose my mind. Mm-hmm. And that's what I say to people is that, when we're learning something new, it helps to have somebody that has been through it to be able to, and I say this too, when you walk into a room, our nervous systems are coming together. So when you're with someone that's totally chill and at peace, you feel that. When you walk in a room and somebody's totally flipping out, you feel that. So to have a teacher that's like, it's all right. We're meditating. It's okay that this or that, or guiding in breath, or guiding, hey, I notice your tension. That's what the teachers
That's what you're a teacher. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny because I even like I can feel it especially when I've traveled too much, because travel is am I going to be on time? The plane is, especially now, and it pulls right up in my shoulders, and I can feel it when I'm on stage, and I have to literally go, let them down, because it's not even the shows. That's what people don't understand. Who was it said, they don't pay me to act. They pay me to, I don't know. They don't pay me to tell jokes. They pay me to travel, which I think is correct. Which is also why this sort of relaxation, even I have to ask you, I don't feel like airplane seats are built for, why do they curve over?
Yeah.
Like they're not made correct.
Yeah. The headrest and all. I mean, yeah. Well, and it's trying to be one size fits all, and we're certainly not one size fits all.
No, and they're making it worse.
Yeah.
And, all right. So, and we're going to talk about your retreats because you do retreats, but let's jump to cacao. How did you find, and also I want to say this, whenever you hear me, like I keep talking about on the podcast, the book Fast Like a Girl, you brought that to me. That's I can't say enough good things about that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much. And again, nutrition wise, there's so many, it's what works, right? So I've worked with a couple people. I really don't do much nutrition counseling. I have in the past, but, again, it's what works for you. And so that really resonated with you. There's someone else that's doing it right now that it's really resonated with them. There's someone else that I'm working with. It's not working for them. So there are absolutely health benefits to fasting. But it also might not work for, or it does not work for everyone. So, again, it's listening to ourselves. Fasting has worked wonderfully for me in the past. I'm actually not fasting at all right now. I've switched it. I just actually hired a coach for myself. I was like, you know what? It's time for me to
take someone else's eyeball.
Yeah. And so, and it's like, you know what? I program for other people all the time. I was like, and I love it because it's like, he tells me what to do, check it off. I go, so coaches always need coaches, teachers, mentors. I love learning from other people.
I just went back to my tarot teacher and it's like, refresh again.
Yeah. Right. Cause you're in a different place. I mean, that was Anne Marie Chias, and I think I went with her 3 years and then I assisted her the 4th year. It was the same. I mean, it's never the same, but same material every year. She came in May to Kripalu, but I was a different person. I was a year different, a year more exploring, so that when I did the meditations, when I did the shaking, when I did the heart-centered meditations, when I did the toe tapping, I was a different person a year later when I did it. And you're doing it in community, led by a phenomenal teacher. You experience it different every time. And so that's ultimately my goal of Cacao, again, as a facilitator, and I call it Cacao Circle. I went back and forth, Cacao, ceremony, Cacao journey, Cacao Circle, in the sense of coming into community that we, again, ideally every 4 to 6 weeks, we come together. We share in this cacao. We take the time. How I do it, cacao can be taught and facilitated with anything. So you can do a sound bath. You can do, there's all different ways. For me, I bring in the things, the ball rolling, the breath work, the embodiment, the shaking, I didn't do toe tapping this Sunday, but it was one of those things. It was 2 hours and I pulled stuff out and it could have easily been 3 hours. It could easily be a half day. Yeah. There's just so much, but again, it's coming in to your own body and giving yourself the space.
And you know what else people don't realize? Community takes the pressure, takes some sort of pressure off. And I don't know how else to say that, because I feel like when you do a one-on-one, yes, you get the attention, but then just community feels better. Yeah. I was saying in one of my other podcasts, I did this podcast on cults, and, the people that get involved in cults, mostly their worst, issue is that they're nice people. They want to get, what they mean? They were the good people go into cults, not awful people. And then they're hoping for the best. But I feel like after this pandemic, it's be interesting to see how many cults pop up, because everyone is dying for community and no one quite knows where to find it except in bars, which is counterproductive. And
that's the piece. That's why I kind of pause with buzzwords, because, there's so many buzzwords out there of, and, and that's where I go to, we do our own healing, right? If you're going to somebody and they're, we all have coaches and people, but if they're, quote, healing you, no, in my opinion, we are doing our own healing. They can facilitate, they can ask questions, they can sit with, they could be next to, but we are doing our own journey, our own healing with guidance and in community. And
I'm always not afraid to say anything. And I always feel like if nobody's talking, I'll talk first. And then somebody else can say it. Because I'll say the craziest thing in the room, which will make everyone feel okay about what
Well, and it's to be witnessed. I said that on Sunday, right? And I'm one, it's like, wow, that was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. And then somebody says something and it's like, oh, I experienced that too. And so to be able to share in that and kind of go, oh, that's, a universal feeling. And so we get into, oh, I'm the only one feeling this, or I'm struggling with this, or, and that's why I say, like, words matter. Words matter, that we are able to not just be happy, mad, sad, right? To be able to understand this whole other emotion realm and be able to communicate it with ourselves and with others. And so, to be witnessed, to say this came up, and then it's, again, clearing out of the throat. It's not being held in the body in this shameful, critic, whatever way.
Yeah. You got to get away from that fast, because that critical step in.
Yeah.
But also, so you started this, so you got me with, whenever you come with something, I'm like, I'll take that. I'm like, I don't even, I don't even ask. I'm like, you came up, it was like, these are cacaos. I'll take one. I'll take a cacao bar.
Right.
So I started, and it's like the fasting book. Like, I was halfway through and I did a 72-hour fast. Then I was like, oh.
I'm the same way. I'm like, let me see. Oh, maybe that was too much. Yes. And I totally, I tested out. That's how it's like, oh,
and then she goes, you should finish the book before. Oh, okay. 72 is not the one you start with. All right. Well, it did whatever.
Yeah. And that's everybody is different. And that's, and knowing you, right? That it's, and knowing your health, that, like, okay, no, or yes, but I'm the same way. That it's like, I did 118 hours one time, and it was just like, oh, and then I'm refeeding and going, oh man, I hope, and it's just learning as I go. So that's where, it's like, I say I practice on myself, and then I've learned to be like, every body is different. And so what works, fasting, not fasting.
What else is good? It works for me is I'm following her calendar, so I'm getting ready to go into the 10 days where you don't fast at all.
Yeah.
Where you mix it up. But I find it better if I don't plan. If I start going, I eat for 2 days, then I go, ugh. But sometimes I get to 18 hours and I'm like, maybe make 20 24, maybe
Right.
make 36. I think 36 is my jam.
Yeah.
I think that's, I would like to do another 72 because 72 reset my gut.
Yeah.
24 is supposed to, but not quite.
Right.
But 72 is a lot. I got to be busy.
Yeah.
But anyways, enough about me. Why am I talking about me? But yes. So when you have something, I'm always like, whatever she's doing, I'm doing that. I'm doing that.
I'm gonna try it.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was sort of using the cacao a little bit, but so when we walked in and we sat down, first of all, you give credibility through science. Not that anything, I'm always in, so you don't have to.
Right.
But when you were talking about, tell us about the health benefits of cacao, even if no one's doing a journey. And I mean real cacao, not Hershey's cacao.
Right. Absolutely. And I will say the cacao that I use is Keith's cacao. So, Google that. And that was my experiences. I've been, and I took the Keith's, so I'm a Keith's cacao practitioner. I took the course. I did, so I have a certificate type of thing. But when I was looking for cacao, I was really intrigued. I was eating dark chocolate every day, which is not cacao, but I was eating dark chocolate and I was like, I'm curious and I just couldn't find it. So I was Googling it and I'm one that there's just a lot of stuff. There's so many supplements out there and what's good and what's not. And so the cacao, I feel like is the same, that it's like, I don't know enough, but if I'm going to do it, I want the real stuff. But what does the real stuff even mean? Like, what is it? I don't know enough. And so it was actually, last like June and July that I was Googling. So it was and I'd been interested, but I finally sat down and I found, I have tabs open, which people tease that I have like 20 tabs, which is how my brain is. And so Keith's cacao was one that I was like, this looks legit. Like this looks like a real site, not, and again, cause for me, it's like, I can go out woo woo, but I also need the science. I need tell me that it's, that what's going on. And then I found a practitioner and this is actually who I'm studying with right now. And I'm loving it. Kind of going into the energy side of things. But she looked legit. She did cacao and she did it via Zoom. And so she actually travels for about 4 months of summer. So when I reached out to her, she was like, yeah, I'll get back to you when I get home in September. So I was like, dang, I gotta still wait. And so so it was like October when she and I finally connected. And then as usual, it was a Saturday, like at 5:00, we talked on Zoom and I had bought Keith's cacao just out of curiosity, but I didn't know what to do with it. It's a block, and I was like, I don't really know. And so she was having a cacao ceremony the next morning on Zoom. And I'm like, I'm in, just tell me what I'm supposed to do with this block. And so I've been, and I knew she was talking about doing cacao stuff, and I almost went down in Hilton Head, but it never worked out. And so now she's teaching something else, which again is kind of my personal practice of this other stuff. But the cacao kind of was the beginning where I'm like, what is this? I'm just really drawn to it. And so when I took the first Keith's cacao class, it's such a great, once a week they have a practitioner meeting. Tomorrow it's going to be on cacao in the medical community. The woman who's teaching it is an MD, and she goes, and I was on one of her calls. She's just unbelievably smart. And again, that speaks to my brain of like, I want to know the legit. I'm not going to be able to speak like she can. She's got, that MD, but it's tell me so my brain can register.
Fine.
So, but then there's, other sides of it where it's, cacao and, shamanic journeying or, I forget, it's so out of my, and I won't even, some sort of language type of thing where it's like speaking with, and they're bringing in, and so, but again, you're always learning, there's facilitators and so it's been really opening to me from a grounded superfood perspective to hey, add this to, and you go out there woo woo. And I'm like, cool, let me try. And then I'm going to come back. What do I teach? And I can I always say I sweep out a little bit and then I come back.
And also I want to throw in, because I feel like it's a strange time right now. Everybody's doing it and good luck. I mean, I don't mean that like good luck, but right now for me, there you go. That's what I want to say. Ayahuasca and real big mushroom trips aren't on my agenda. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because I'm kind of unstable with everything and the world feels unstable to me. This is a very,
very gentle,
not like that at all. Nope. If you are curious and don't want to make that big leap, this is where you want to go. Hold on one second, folks. We'll be right back.
Incoming Beginning transmission.
Greetings, intergalactic campers. We are here to notify you of an auspicious cosmic event occurring at Starstruck Farm, Lebanon, Tennessee, August 17th to 20th of Earth Year 2023. Humans have labeled this event Hot Alien Summer Camp, and forces across the multiverse confirm it to be an unparalleled community convergence phenomenon. Expect to experience sound baths, energetic exchanges, metaphysical vendors and practitioners, yoga, live music, Reiki, and comedy performances by karenrontowski and Ryan Singer, and most importantly, restful, enriching connection with your fellow aliens. Hot Alien Summer Camp, where cosmic forces align for an unforgettable adventure. Go to hotaliensummercamp.com to book your tickets and let the magic unfold.
Transmission complete.
We're back. So the literal, like, even if you just buy the cacao, and even when I wasn't doing ceremony, I throw it in my smoothie every day.
Yeah. So you can look at it, again, from a superfood perspective, right? You hear of chocolate, love chemical, and we give it on Valentine's Day. But that's cacao, not this other chocolate stuff. And so Keith's cacao, again, kind of going back to that, it is, in my research, the most pure. And so I feel good. I feel honest in the sense of like, okay, I'm taking in a good substance and I can say it to others versus like, well, I'm not so sure about this or that. So kind of and I have my cheat sheet because I'm such a visual person. With Keith's cacao, it comes from Guatemala. So people think of it, as high caffeine. Well, the beans that he gets are hand selected. He, directly sources with families. He calls it, his family.
The frequency of the whole thing is great.
Right. Exactly. It's done in the purest way that it can. And then it's heated, minimally processed. So it's not to this high level where it burns off kind of the chemicals that we want for that, the neurotransmitters and things where you're getting these health benefits. It's cheaper and faster to put it in a higher, and a lot of times even the chocolate that we get, in stores, they're pulling the fat out and they're using that for other things. They can sell it and then they add in other fat. The Keith's cacao, you're getting nothing added, nothing taken away. So it is actually a very high fat content, but it's a good fat. It's for the brain, but it is, if, for those that are watching their nutrient intake, it's a higher fat content, but it's very, very healthy and it's needed in order to be absorbed into the body. So with that minimal processing, the caffeine is very low. So some of the things for my brain that I like to think of, and I have it kind of here, is one superfood. It has, it's a high level antioxidants. It's, magnesium, chromium, manganese, and then theobromine, which is a huge one. But one, going back to magnesium, it stuck out to me is that so many of us are deficient in magnesium. And so maybe many people have probably heard of magnesium supplements for muscle spasms or things like that. But there is in 1 ounce of Keith's cacao, there's 103, milligrams in 1 ounce. And in a day, it's recommended to have 100. So in a serving or in a ceremonial dose where we do 1.5 ounces, which is a little bit more, you're getting your magnesium. And so you're getting mental clarity, focus, muscle spasm, all of that. And helps with constipation, PMS, anxiety. So,
and I have had it right before bed and not had any problems.
Right. And when I first started, I was like, I don't want to find out. And now I do. I do it. And I enjoy my dreams. I kind of do it as a like, hey, what's going to come up dream wise?
And I find it very relaxing. So I don't think the caffeine or it's overridden by the...
Right. And it depends, again, where it's grown. And Keith's cacao, and the other pieces, like if you Google, and I've got actually a whole entire book from taking the practitioner course of just stuff that I've printed out. And so their caffeine is at a level of like decaf coffee. So it's really not even like having a cup of coffee. They really minimally. Now, if you go someplace else and it's different beans, then yes, you can have a higher, but they research and they're testing to make sure that their caffeine is low. And then the other piece, the theobromine, is, so caffeine being a central nervous system accelerator, kind of, get the theobromine, it's a vasodilator and it increases, so you're relaxing those muscles and you're getting more blood flow. So instead of it being that jittery high, you're getting more circulation.
I can't wait to tell you what I got out of this journey, because you're gonna be like, okay.
Yeah. So I'll go quick because people really don't care about. So cardiovascular stimulant as a theobromine, it relaxes the smooth muscles, so the heart. So then when you talk about cacao energetically as being this heart opener, right? You really are softening those muscles, the smooth muscles. It's a vasodilator. It allows things, quote, to flow easier, right? Things are moving, and then mental focus. So the theobromine is a piece, and then the neurochemicals, which I won't get into too much because there's way more information. But again, I won't go into, I think of my brain, I do it as simple as I can from my memory, and it's PEA and anandamide, and those are both neurochemicals. And so thinking about PEA, and I'm going to try to say the word phenylethylamine. There we go. I got it. My brain does not. I was bio major and I had hard times.
Would you be surprised if I had corrected you on that?
How'd you say that?
I didn't even get a Hardy right.
Phenylethylamine, PEA.
That's acceptable.
Yeah. Thank you. I tried. I even did a capital A, phenylethylamine. But the love chemical, right? So again, in Valentine's Day we do chocolate, but it's this idea or this neurotransmitter. It increases the dopamine production, increases your mood, decreases depression, and it actually increases your athletic performance. So again, that piece of coming from the athletic world, I don't do cacao, and then they actually are looking for people to be able to do a panel for the practitioners to learn more about it. I do it again for my own. I feel better doing it, but I also, and I will add, I didn't get sick. Every time I say this, I knock. I did not get sick this winter. I did not get sick. And the magnesium, I feel like adding in this piece. Now, it's not, the only thing in my life, but I really feel like it helped.
Well, that magnesium, and also for my readers out there, doing a cacao journey 20 to 30 minutes before you're getting ready to do your readings can just put you right in that space automatically.
Yeah.
Sometimes 5 minutes. Yesterday I did it 5 minutes before a reading. Yeah. I'm trying to be honorable. My teacher's always like, don't just sit down and read your tarot. And I'm like, that's how I've been doing it for years. Right? So I'm kind of like, but it really does put you right in that space.
Yeah.
I would say even if you had a stressful situation, it's a good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And just as a note, you and I don't really eat sugar or corn syrup anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, it's fine without, but they can put in honey or.
Yeah. So one of the things that I didn't know is that you don't do cow milk, cheese, dairy type of stuff with this, or you can, but it's going to decrease the way that it's digested. So that was one of the things when I first started learning, it was like almond milk. And I was like, is everyone just vegan or but you really try not to do dairy when you're doing the cacao, just the way that it's digested if you want it to kind of go through the system. Again, you can add it to your shakes and think of it as a superfood. But if you're looking for kind of that mental piece, it would be one of those things, try not to have caffeine or coffee, and food for just so that it's going into your system. And even when we did it on Sunday, it's one of those, take a moment, right? Set that intention. And when you take your first sip, you really can feel that warmth and that it just kind of, whether it's mind
opener is really the, And you had talked about sometimes they put cayenne pepper in?
Yeah. So that's how I do mine. I do cayenne. So I do the cacao, water, and cayenne are the ways that I do it. So people can add, they do nutmeg. I just do the cayenne. And that's because it increases the blood flow even more.
I did coconut sugar in the beginning, but it's funny because I do not like cayenne pepper, but I take it as a supplement. And I had a friend who was like, he couldn't get it. His heart was palpitating all the time, and he couldn't get into the doctor. And I said, go get He said within 30 seconds of taking a cayenne pepper pill, I'd kind of make my own, put it in a thing. Yeah. And he said, I'm not asking the doctor anymore. I'm asking old hippies. So I can see where that would actually really accent what's going on there.
Yeah. There's so much. And I only put a tiny bit of cayenne in. There's so much that we've just lost as a society that unfortunately, and I will say we need medicine, but there is so much we lost.
Can already be doing.
Yeah. And it's in that slowing down. It's in that listening, in that embodiment, in that pause. I have a 13 and a 16-year-old, and watching them kind of come into their teen years, and it's like their teen bodies and the hormones and all of that. And then being like what I do, the way that I think, and it's like, I see how we as a society, including myself who, teaches this, it's like, wow, at what point do we take away their power? Their, like, you have the answer. Like, yes, ask the doctor, ask the medical community, learn. They absolutely have knowledge, but that's not their body, And so for my kids, I come back to, it's like, yes, we need to ask, and yes, medicine is needed, and all of that, but also come back to, is it working for me? And I mean, I can go off on a whole tangent of it, but it's that piece of, there's just so many different things, and it's coming back. Is
and
it
also
working?
Kind of what's the thing of the day?
Yeah.
Like I remember I usually used to eat small meals, and that worked at that time. And now the fasting's working. And in a year, I was like, in a year you might not be doing this again, because that's how it goes.
Right.
But yeah, the one size fits all, or the whatever is the supplement of the month. I tend to gravitate towards let's try that.
Right.
But it really is amazing how that holistic stuff is on its way back.
Right.
And I will just say it, once you've cut out sugar, you can feel these things so powerfully.
Right. Well, and also when we say sugar, we're saying like that high fructose that's in right? So to have
coconut sugar, I think is okay.
Right.
Sometimes agave, maple syrup. I'm big on maple syrup. Maybe some people, if you're real strict, no, but I feel like those are.
And it's listening to your body. I mean, and that's the pieces. I'm the same where I'm like, let me try this. And it's like, no X and that's the rule. And so it's what works for you, And so again, the cacao, if adding a little bit of maple syrup or adding some honey and making it and putting, there's people that put, almond milk and they make it. And I think about it for my kids. It's like, they're not going to really, although my younger one has taken a few sips and she's teaching herself to like it. But they make it, where it can be. There's been Friday night where I was like, I really feel like hot cocoa, but I know I don't want the hot cocoa that's in the rip open packet. And so I made it with some almond milk and I put some sweetener, and it was like, oh, this is like a sweetness. This is a gentle cacao. I'm not going into some deep meditative state with all this, but it was enjoyable. It was, kind of like that Friday night.
Focus on the movie.
Exactly. That's right. It's like a Friday night movie type of thing. So yes, and one of the things a couple things back that I think of and that has given me kind of pieces, I'm one that like, I go way up in the mountain. I'm like, well, let me try this. And then I come down and I go up, but I've learned I need those peaks and valleys to find my middle ground. Mm-hmm. And so instead of being like, yeah, I'm out, like, it's taught me, I'm like, oh, I don't need to be quite so high anymore. Okay. I don't need to, but it comes with age, it comes with time.
Well, the biggest phrase that I have to say to myself over and over is you're not building muscle when you're exercising, you're building muscle when you're healing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like,
yeah.
So I have, because otherwise I'll just keep
going. And just breaking down.
Bike trying to get here today. I'm
in alignment.
Okay.
So going back to kind of the PEA and the anandamide. So PEA is the love chemical, and then anandamide as the bliss chemical. And the thing that spoke to me is with anandamide is we all know the idea of a runner's high or exercise high, and so you do 20 minutes plus of and the way that you feel afterwards. Well, this interacts in that same way, and so these chemicals, these parts that are components that are in the cacao, are naturally occurring in our body. So it's not as if we're going off in some trip. These are naturally occurring and we're adding them in. So we really, the PEA is the feeling we get or what we produce when we're falling in love. So again, that's where chocolate or, really cacao is this love thing. Well, it really is this feeling of like, I'm happy. Things are okay.
Yeah.
And so, for me, with my experience of coming from the fitness, and cacao is that, they say it's like that gentle entrance into meditation or whatever that you want to do versus the like, you take it and you're all in. And for me, I don't want to take anything and I can't come out. It's like, you're in it.
Yeah.
You're in it. until you're out of it. And that's just for me, other people, but for me and for what I want to provide at Move, Breathe, Live, or is this safety. And so people will say mama cacao. And I like that. I love the word mama. So it's like this endearing mama cacao. And so she, I would say in the spirit form, would guide you. And so when my first day of the class, they were like, how were you called to mama cacao? And I was like, well, that's not really the language, because I was like, I'm just interested. But really for a year, it's like, what is this? What is this cacao? And it's like, so I was drawn to cacao. And so for me, it's a facilitator. And I use the word facilitator in the sense of, it brings your meditation or whatever, you're just that much deeper. And I was trying to think of a way to describe it. And those moments when you're so tired, and not like beyond and you're grumpy tired, but you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so comfortable. Yeah. I'm warm and I'm going to climb into my bed. I don't have anything to worry about. I don't have to set the alarm. And you're like climbing into bed, right? Without cacao, but you just feel so good, and you're going to fall right to sleep, right? You just are like, that to me is how the feeling is with cacao, that like you can come in from your bike and you're like, and then and it's like, you just drop a level down. You don't go into some psychedelic. You just dial into your body, and you can fall asleep, I guess, but for the most part, and I am curious to see, your journey, but that it allowed you to go, okay, so, and then if someone is doing a meditation, a guided meditation, or there's sound or they're shaking, you're in your body. It facilitates this ability to, wow, I'm holding tension.
I can hear myself.
Yeah. I'm breathing. I'm not breathing. It's just this new, and I say like communicating with ourselves, learning our language, our communication language with ourselves, because we may never have learned it, or we lost it at some point, and we need to relearn that. Mm-hmm. Because this is our body. This is us. And so.
And another weird thing is the frequencies right now around us, whether it's Wi-Fi or 5G or electricity, all those things I think also take us out of touch.
Yeah.
And so we came in and I'm not going to tell the whole ceremony, but also this was a very interesting thing, because immediately you gave me a cup and I noticed there was a splash on, and I said, that's a sigil.
Yeah.
And then I said, I think there's a sigil in my cup, which I think most of my community knows. A sigil is like a symbol, your symbol. Angels have sigils. You can make your own sigil when you want to bring something into your life. And I was like, and you were like, yeah, sometimes you get a thing in your cup.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say my teacher on Mondays when I took class, she was like, I always look at my cup. And it's like, and for me, I've looked at things and there's been like a heart, and I just makes this, but I can't say that I've personally looked at something and been like, oh, but she looks, and just like other, shamans will break open an egg and read an egg, right? So, but she will look at the bottom of her cup every time, and she's like, there's always a symbol. And so I look at the bottom of my cup, and again, it's just one of those things that I've seen, yeah, so it's not, yeah. And you sent me a picture, and I was like, how cool is that, and it makes sense for you, right? That resonated, whereas I'm looking, if I were to see a face or something, I'd be like, I don't know, I see a smudge,
You know what was interesting? I was reading for someone, and I think they had an attachment. And I saw it in the cup before they called.
Yeah.
And it was very helpful. But yeah, so here, I'll tell you my experience, and then you can tell me what you facilitated or what happened there. Because when you first told me about this, it was kind of like have an empty stomach, stay away from caffeine, at least 2 hours. I don't know if you said 2 hours, but 2 hours was in my head.
I sent an email. So whether you read it or not, I don't know.
But that was the first time you gave it to me.
Yes.
Which was way before the journey.
Yeah.
So, and you keep it on mild heat and you turn it into
we don't boil it, right? You don't,
or you do whatever your thing is.
Right. Set the intention. Yep.
And because I'm sort of already in that world.
Yeah.
To me, Mother Cacao is an African American woman, which I always see as Mother Nature. Anyways.
Right.
With a big laugh, of course. And I feel like I'm communing and talking with this person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what it looks like for me. So immediately when we came in yesterday and we started, it was like I immediately got that image. I was like, oh, my friend is here, and then we all laid down, and there was you had these were they fake candles?
They were.
And they were in the middle of the room, and it felt like all of a sudden from my feet all the way up, this energy came in. And I was like, oh, wow, that was bigger, however you had prepared us or whatever. I was like, wow, that's bigger than I've ever, felt. So, and I thought the heat was so much. I said, how much heat is coming from those candles? And there wasn't any heat coming from those candles.
None.
And someone else in the crowd said, wow, it came up that way. But the two big, pieces of information that came to me were literally about my physical body and how I'm treating it. Mm-hmm. And the first thing she said was, you need to, so this is a weird side note, but since I was like 35, I've been wearing like old lady support hose just to keep varicose veins awake and on airplanes and stuff. And they've been so helpful. But I always cut off the feet. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And she was like, that's why your feet are always cold. You need to get those acupressure slippers, mm-hmm. which I got right away. And now my feet are not cold, so it's doing something. Yeah. And then she said, you need to get a magnesium rub, and you need to put it on your back of your neck every night to get that soft and relaxed, because this is the last part of you letting go of feelings in these two places. Yeah. That now we need to go at them from a physical, not just a mental. Yeah. So that was when I was like, well, like God bless, that was great. Like, was it metaphor? It was
right. Do this.
Yes. Right. And both of those things I've done, and it's been amazing. Right. But it really was, and then we did the Gorgeous Ball. Mm-hmm. But I really was like, it was so great. I can't even tell you. There was so much more to it, but to walk away with this, I know everyone doesn't get that sort of an application, like you need to do this right now, but it was great. Yeah.
And I think everyone gets what they, and each time it's different. And that's why my goal is that it becomes something that we facilitate regularly, in that each time we come and cacao, it stays in our system. So it's not just you're getting this now, but it's throughout the day, throughout the next day. And so roughly for about 2 weeks, you've got this in your system. So to look at it from that perspective, but yeah, you get, and I was reading through my stuff, just out of curiosity. And mine that came, that was powerful with one of my beginning was align, allow, and let go. And it was like, so I go back to that, and I was reading it this morning. I was like, that's right. It's like align. As long as I'm in alignment with because again, taking on this building, buying a building, and it's me and my partner doing it. And it's like, there's moments where it's like, what? But I sat with cacao and was like, this is, it gave me the peace to go. And then I get up and be like, am I crazy in my head that like I'm trusting Mama Cacao but found the building with, journeying or sitting and meditating with, made the offer, stuck with the offer, all these pieces that normally I'd be like, oh my gosh, these are concrete things, but I was supplementing my mental, my internal, and staying grounded and aligned with, I truly believe creating this space, that we've created this space here, and it's time to create a new space. And that was the facilitator of being able to go inward and go, okay, align, allow it, move out of the way, trust it. And then the letting go is the hard part of going, okay, I'm doing what I can. And the reality is, I can say for the last 10 years of my life, when I have gotten out of my own way, right? I mean, that's huge in my teachings, is when you get out of your own way, when you're like, this is the way it's supposed to be, and I'm going to keep working hard to make it that way. I'm going to make it happen. And then when you kind of take your hands off and go, what it is. And then it's even better and more amazing, and again, to have move, breathe, live. I mean, I don't even know if I told you the story of the 3 birds, or my daughter, myself, and my 2 daughters. And that was from a moment, when my ex-husband and I decided we went to therapy and, did what we could for the marriage, and our final time at therapy, when we made the decision that we did what we could. It was not meant to be. We walked out, we had separate cars, and we said our goodbye, and I looked up and there were 3 birds. And I just remember thinking, like, I don't know what that means, but it means something. And then so when I walk into this place and I see the 3 birds, and And the INSO symbol meaning nothing is complete. Everything is always, it's nothing is complete. Nothing is perfect. That 5 years ago would have never imagined. And now we're, so it's like trust, align with what matters to us, right? And everybody has different, right? Whatever is important, your value, align with that.
And this is, it's funny because you said you had opened this business and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah, 10 weeks.
And I thought, and I mean this in the best, and then you bought the building, and I think we have a recession coming, and immediately in my head I heard, she's going to be fine. She's exactly where she's supposed to be. The recession will maybe, I kept hearing she's going to be fine because you're where you're supposed to be. So it doesn't matter what happens outside. Yeah. It's all going to work.
And that's how same exact thing that I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then but this is where you're supposed to be.
Right.
This is what you're supposed to, and again, I say it and it's like, cause I'm not religious. And then I'm like, how do I have this blind trust? Like, how do I have this? And it really is. And I laugh cause I'm like, who are you that has this? But I truly, truly believe we need community. And so I've had where it's like, well, can you do Zoom calls? Can we do? And I have a few people that I do that are out of state that I do training via Zoom. And I've had teachers that closed up their physical place and they go online and they have, and I totally get it. It's actually a great business model. Right now for me, it's not, I want to be in community.
You want to put your energy into community, which
we need to be together. And that's the piece where it's like, yeah, I'm supposed to have a physical location that, and we've talked about different dreams that have popped up where, I was just like this physical location. And it's like, we need each other. We need to show up. My 16-year-old is very much an introvert and we joke when she was younger is like, she's like, I'm going to order everything in. I'm going to work from home. And I could see where she would totally, as she's gotten older, I think she realizes the value of people, but it was like, she really could be. And it's like, we need people. We need to be in contact. We need to be sharing, whether we say frequencies or energies, or we need to be looking at people in the eye, not just via Zoom, not, watching them that they taped it 6 months ago. And now we're watching them. And there's great information out there. There is online. And I feel very, passionately that it's like create a space that people can come in and be together.
And it could not be a better address. 100 Main Street.
Yes.
Whitesboro.
Right.
Thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
Thank you. Love it.
I will, thanks to everybody. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. Everybody, if you have any questions, can they email you through the website?
They can. So the website is www.movebreathe.live. Or my name, Juliana, Juliana, at movebreathe.live.
And it's in the show notes, everybody. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you at 100 Main Street.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks.
Paranormal Karen. She's a spooky kind of queen. Paranormal Karen. She's an angel without wings. Comedian, ghost hunter, conscious exploring. She's a funny gal and a real woo pal. She's Paranormal Karen.